What's good, team? Right after bringing you guys another episode of the Explain series today, and in this week's episode, I'm going to be explaining the Amorphage deck in detail. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright guys, so welcome back to the Amorphages Explained. In this video, I'm going to be giving an in-depth analysis, telling you guys what I like about the deck, dislike about the deck, and etc. So let's begin. Starting off with why the deck is good. The deck is good because it counters everything. The deck is pretty much a general anti-meta deck. It's very underrated in my opinion, and a lot of other players' opinions. And it's a pendulum deck, so you guys already know pendulums have a fuck ton of support. So let's get into the slides and see what the deck is all about. Amorphage Creed. Pendulum effect. While you control an Amorphage monster, needed player can activate traps or their effects, except for Amorphage cards. Once per turn, during your semi-phase, tribute one monster or destroy its card. If this card is pendulum summon or flip face up, neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck while this card is face up on the field, except Amorphage monsters. So when it's pendulum summon, people can't use extra decks, which is really good for floodgating the opponent. Some of the card effects like Vanity's Emptiness, and he shuts off traps, except Amorphage cards. So overall, a solid card. Definitely a staple in the deck. People run 3 ofs. Next card, or next monster rather. Amorphage Envy. Pendulum effect. While you control an Amorphage monster, neither player can activate cards or effects as chain 2 or higher. Once per turn during your semi-phase, tribute one monster or destroy this card. If this card is pendulum summon, you know, people can't start something from extra deck, etc, etc. So pretty much stopping chain 2 is a higher, so when you activate a card, your opponent can't start a chain 2. That's really good because it allows your opponent to not change, being able to change your cards if I'm reading that correctly. So it's another good solid card for the archetype. Is level 4, allowing you to make the rank 4 plays. In addition to that, he's a scale 5, which helps you get off your pendulum summons. And he has 2k beef. He has a 2k defense. So while you have him in the pendulum zone, or if you pendulum zone him out, you can wall to stop your opponent from using extra deck. So far, almost every Amorphage monster has that effect when they're on the field. Special summon, people can't special summon from the extra deck. Amorphage Gluttony, fat boy. Scale 5, level 2, Earth. While you control an Amorphage monster, cannot activate their effects. Monsters can activate their effects, except for Amorphage monsters. Then, of course, the tribute one monster destroy this card. If this card is pendulum, people can't special summon from extra deck, etc. So, let's break down the part of, let's say, monsters can activate their effects except Amorphage monsters. So this is pretty much the skill drain for the deck while you have in the pendulum zone. So essentially, if you have Gluttony and this guy, you negate all your opponent's effect and they can't chain your cards. That's a really good. Or if you have this guy, your opponent can't activate trap cards. So that's really dirty because it's just completely shutting off the weaknesses to these guys. Of course, that they have 0 attack, but the benefit is they shut off negate. They did negating effects, which is always a good thing to do. Next up, Goliath. Now this is the big beefy monster. He's one of the boss monsters of the deck. He is a level 8, scale 5. While you control an Amorphage monster, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which is pretty good. Kind of like the old school D-Mock when he killed monsters, they banish him. Then the same clause, tribute monster destroy his card. Then his monster effect while he's on the field. Neither player can special summon monster from extra deck. Who didn't see that coming? They all have that effect. So his scale effect, allowing monsters to go to banish instead of graveyard, is really good. Could be used against a lot of decks that revolve around graveyard. A great example of that is Burning Abyss. Amorphage Lysis. Now this is going more into some of the offensive Amorphage monsters. You had your defensive, the ones in the beginning with the 0 attack and high defense. Now you have the more of the offensive one, starting off with Goliath and Lysis. So level 2 Earth, scale 5, pendulum effect. While you control an Amorphage monster, neither player can activate spell cards or their effects except for Amorphage cards. Once per turn during your semi-phase, tribute one monster to destroy this card. Same clause for the monster effect, so neither player can activate spell cards or their effects. Now that's really good. That's really good. Reason being, of course, spell cards are the key souls to this game. That effects alone can shut off decks like monarchs, heroes, and etc. Anything that revolves around spell cards and can't activate spell cards or effects. So if I'm reading that correctly as well, if you play this on your opponent, they can't activate their pendulum scale because pendulum scales specifically states when you activate them, they're treated as continuous spell cards. So oh my god, that's really good. Damn, why don't I play this deck? I might actually build this deck for the near future. This deck is more solid than what I thought it was before I actually did this video. Amorphage Sloth. So he's another boss for the deck. Level 6. Appears to be one of the secret rares. Earth. Scale 3. While you control an Amorphage monster, neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them. Once per turn during your standby phase, yada yada yada. So, stopping drawing effects. That's good. Slows. Well, hold on. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand. So, it stops all searching effects. So, for decks like Necros that'll help the deck, he seemed like more of a good side deck card for the archetype. Any deck to overall run surfing. I mean, he's a little too late. He would have been a good deck card to use against Necros. In this current format, the top decks are Cosmos, Monarchs, Pepe. And those decks really don't search that often. So he's an overall solid card for the side deck for people who still like to run decks that search a lot. Amorphage Wrath. Pendulum effect. While you control an Amorphage monster, neither player can tribute monsters except Amorphage monsters once per turn. You can tribute one monster, the same Amorphage clause. People can't spell something from the extra deck while he's facing on the field. Level 4, 1650 attack. Solid stats. Level 4, make those rank 4 plays. I like him mainly because in this format you can side him against Monarchs. He's really good for that aspect. So if you're playing against the Monarch player you're using this deck, obviously you want to side in 3 this guy. And then you're going to pretty much just slug it at the Monarch deck. Really solid, honestly. Really liking this deck a lot. And here's one of the biggest. This is the big boss monster for the deck. He's a ritual card. And you'll see the card that brings him out in a second. More Factor Pain, the Imagination Dracoverlord. So Konami's continue with the Draco Overlords for the deck. You can ritual summon this card with the Amorphage Persona. If this card is ritual summon, your opponent skips their next main phase 1. Negate the effects of fusion, synchro, XYZ monsters while they are face up on the field. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Draco Overlord monster from your deck to your hand, except Draco, Pain, whatever guy. So your opponent skips their main phase 1, which is always a solid effect, especially if your opponent's on a losing end of the stick, because they have to go straight into main phase 2 to do all their combos and pass. And they'll have to skip their, well, they can't skip their battle phase. If you clear their board and then you bring them out, they pretty much skip their battle phase. And then you negate the effects of all type, synchro, fusion, XYZ. This is a really good card. I wish it had a non-destruction effect to keep them on, to keep your opponents on their toes. But overall, a good card. 2950 is nothing to joke about. And it's a ritual monster. Now, this card is, from what I looked online, it mainly uses a one-of. If I build Amorphages, I would definitely use it as a one-of. Only thing about cards like this card in general is a dead draw, meaning in the 8 to 10 round tournament, he's not going to be the best in your best interest due to the fact that you can top deck him in a losing position and just have him do nothing. Which is why rituals were always bad archetype, well, mechanic until Necros came around. Amorphage Persona. Now this is the card to bring out the ritual guy. All Amorphage monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense up to twice per turn. If an Amorphage monster you control is tributed, draw one card. You can banish the card from your graveyard, tribute pendulum monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal exactly 8, then ritual summon the guy from your hand. So banishing that from the graveyard is always a good thing because you can tribute that with one of the Amorphages guys, the one that says tribute the cards. Yep, tribute one monster. Never mind. You can't banish it with one of those cards, but you can get rid of it with like a twin twist or whatever. If your opponent MSTs it, you can banish that up to grade to bring out the ritual. Only thing about this and the ritual, like I said, if you're holding this in your hand to try to pull it off, it's gonna, in the speedy meta, it's bad. Now back in the day when you had things like the 2005, 2006 era and the game was a lot slower, then it can pull it off and it'd be good. But in this game of Monarchs, Cosmos, it's too slow. But they're overall cute cards, so one up if you run it or not. But this card is good because it's the draw engine for the deck, so when you tribute your monster, you draw a card. Really good, and it boosts your guys up by 300 attack. Amorphage Infection. Now, all Amorphage monsters on the field gain 100 attack and defense for each Amorphage card in the field, which is always a good thing. Because we pendulum of summon out 5 guys, they all gain 100, and then plus they gain another 100 for the Amorphage Infections. They all essentially gain 600 attack. For monsters in your hand, it's tributed a survival battle card effect. You can add one monster card to your hand. So once you tribute, you add, you draw, and then you just start fucking shit up. Overall combo pieces, you need both of them to the deck between this and this. Now to get it to the trap. This is the only trap that the deck has currently, as far as I know of. All monsters on the field except for Amorphage monsters lose 100 attack and defense for each Amorphage card on the field. If a card or cards is in your pendulum zone, it's destroyed. except during damage step, you can place one Amorphage Pendulum Monster from your deck in your Pendulum Zone. You can only use the effect of Amorphage Lysis once per turn. Now, if a card in your Pendulum is destroyed, you can place one Amorphage Monster from your deck. That's really good because if your opponents are breaking your scales while you get this on the board, you can immediately replace it and Pendulum back the card they just broke. In addition to that, it pretty much reduces your attacks to your opponent's monsters. When I looked up deck lists online, a lot of players ran this as a 3 of. Overall, solid card. I'm really loving this archetype. I seriously might build this. Deck profile might come in the near future, like for real, for real. Final thoughts. The deck is really good because it's anti-meta deck. I mean, this shutting decks off is really solid. But with that being said, based on what I've seen, I can honestly say the deck can be probably inconsistent at times. I mean, you do have things like Draco face-off, and the Draco engine to help make the deck a little bit more consistent. And you also have things like the Wavering. I think actually never mind. Wavering Eyes is banned. But overall, you have things like Draco face-off to make the deck a little bit more consistent, and the Pepe engine make the deck a little bit more consistent. But the thing is, unless you start getting your combo pieces going, it's going to be a little slow. And in today's meta, that makes the deck inconsistent. Now, in let's say a 2014 meta where Fire Fist was running rampant and Infernities was here and there, the deck probably would have been better. But for right now, due to the meta, it's inconsistent for what the meta requires, which is speed. So overall, the deck is tier 2 to tier 2 points. Yeah, the deck is tier 2 to tier 2.5 in my opinion, only because this is not the right meta for the deck. But overall, if you open up an amazing hand, get the combos flowing, you're gonna fuck your opponent up. Now, cue the outro. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up to show support. Just like last week, I'm gonna have a poll right here. Giving you guys an option to pick what deck next you want me to explain. So hit that poll and let me know in the comment section down below things you liked about this video. As I always tell you guys, I do these videos so I truly believe in helping you guys become better players, and also do these videos so I truly believe in you guys helping me become a better player. Chris from Team Innovation signing out. Peace guys, and stay innovative. Deuces. Top 10 I'm gonna go with number 10. Nothing in specific order, by the way. So starting off with number 10, the prize support. The prize support in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is lackluster.